It seems to me that the desire to make art produces an ongoing experience of longing, a restlessness sometimes, but not inevitably, played out romantically or sexually. Always there seems something ahead, the next poem or story, visible, at least, apprehensible, but unreachable. To perceive it at all is to be haunted by it. Some sound, some tone, becomes a torrent. The poem embodying that sound seems to exist somewhere already finished. It's like a lighthouse, except that, as one swims toward it, it backs away. Louise Gluck, from Proofs and Theories, Essays on Poetry, 1994. I want to talk about that quote, sort of, and how that quote kind of, sort of, perfectly sums up how I feel all the time, and in so many ways, especially when you ever get that feeling when you're writing fiction, at least, that it feels like when you stumble on something, it was already fact, it's already there, and you're just sort of trying to go toward it. But I just want to talk about writing today, because I don't talk about that enough. What I really want to talk about, I have to sort of backtrack a little bit to try to, like, explain what I'm talking about. I was recently tagged in one of those Tumblr tag things where you answer questions about your life. I get tagged in them every once in a while, and they're really fun. I usually don't tag people again because I'm usually just, like, too nervous to tag people. I feel like I'm just, I don't know, asking too much of them. It's weird because we all love being tagged. I'm stupid. But one of the questions in the tag, and it's a very common question in tag games, is, you know, to list your favorite books. And so here's my list. It's relevant to this video. So Frankenstein, Emma, The Picture of Dorian Gray, Green Angel, A Song of Ice and Fire, the short story The Earl King by Angela Carter, Anything and Everything by John Keats, Manfred by Lord Byron, and this amazing 20,000 word fanfic that made me cry in the middle of the night called Sometime Around Midnight. In the tag, I tagged the thing at the bottom, I put, I did it, I finally put a fanfic in my list of favorite books. Take that, elitist academia. This fic is a Midnight in Paris AU, and I've never seen Midnight in Paris, and I probably will never see Midnight in Paris, because as much as I think that, you know, the casting in that film is awesome, and it'd be fun to see fictional versions of Salvador Dali and F. Scott Fitzgerald, I really just don't, every time I feel like I don't feel like watching a movie about, like, some rich white guy who has a career in screenwriting, but is creatively unfulfilled in his career in screenwriting, and has this gorgeous fiance played by Rachel McAdams, and is just disappointed with life, and so he goes and then gets the awesome magical ability to time travel through Paris. Oh god, people love Woody Allen movies, and I'm so sorry. I just can't really get into them because they all feel like this really privileged white dude has all these great things that happen to him, and these, like, women fall in love with him for no good reason. It's just not my type of film, but the concept is great, and time traveling is always my thing, as you both know. So the reason I was able to read A Midnight in Paris AU is because they took a wonderful idea and they dropped a bunch of characters into it that I actually care about, aka the characters from Doctor Who, and it was a brilliant idea because then suddenly you're time traveling in Paris to the golden age of Paris. There are a lot of beautiful ages of Paris, but the golden age of Paris, but with, like, characters that I can think are really funny. So they had, like, River and Jack as novelists, Rose as a poet, Amy and Martha were impressionist painters, Vastra and Jenny were surrealist painters, or as the fic put it, Vastra can make anything into a lizard. And the Doctor was a novelist as well, who wrote autobiography that in a fictionalized way, so you didn't really know what was real and what wasn't. And Donna was the editor that, like, beat all their work into perfection before they would actually publish it. And then Clara was the time-traveling character. But this fic was, like, beautifully written. This person should be a professional writer. And there were just amazing lines like, I have not yet discovered a reason to live, but I'd like to believe that one is out there, waiting for me to find it. Or later on, Rory leads them inside and the shouting assaults their ears immediately. Donna's voice rings out, screaming about inadvertent symbolism and false imagery, and Jack yells back in flowery, poetic metaphors, attempting to prove his point. Amy covers her mouth with the back of her hand, apparently blocking her laughter. Jack strolls into the room, clearly trying to get away from his editor. No, he protests loudly. You've completely misunderstood the point of the scene, and I think you'll find that the subtext is perfectly clear in coalition with the protagonist's intentions. So, this beautiful, funny, awesome fic that made me cry in the middle of the night is relevant to what I'm talking about here because I just love that idea of people that are a group of friends that are all artists in their own different ways and write their own things and live in a city together, and this is what they do, and, like, every night they meet up and they do things like this, and it's like that kind of really interconnected community. and part of it is that I miss being in Seattle, and I miss you two, and I miss the rest of our group. You know, I remember Ryan even joking once that our group of friends could become like that group from Paris back in the day. But I miss that feeling of community, and after I read that fic, I suddenly really felt like getting back into poetry more. Reading, not even writing, but reading poetry, because I'm not much of a poet. But like, I got more into reading. I finally ordered a copy of Love in Space Dust by David Jones. It hasn't come in yet. And then I bought this because I just saw it on the shelf and I was like, I gotta buy this poem. It's B, or If I Should Have a Daughter, by Sarah Kay. I have seen the video of her reading this at the TED Talk so many times that I like know all of her intonations. And I read this when I first found it at Barnes & Noble. I read it out loud to my mom in the cafe, and she's like, you need that book. You need that book, and you need to read it at least once a day to remember like these things. My favorite part of the poem is because there's nothing more beautiful than the way the ocean refuses to stop kissing the shoreline, no matter how many times it's swept away. And then yesterday I also bought this because I realized that even though I own at least 2 books on T.S. Eliot, I don't remember ever having bought any work of T.S. Eliot. So I was like, this is nice, and it's tiny, and you can like fit it into a purse and just take it with you and have T.S. Eliot on the go. Then I can always just open it up when I need to and look at the question, do I dare disturb the universe? And think, this is a beautiful poem, and very frightening look at a possible future of myself and anybody who has problems with indecision. And I've never been to Paris. This is a very scattered video. I hope you're getting the vibe that I'm trying to put out here. So I've been able to write a lot more, and that feels great. But I miss having people that I can talk to about it. People that can look over my work and I can look over their work, and hopefully wherever I go next, I'll get it. I've applied to UW again, by the way. I might be back in Seattle. My application for NYU is in. Now I just gotta finish the 3rd application. I miss reading and writing and exploring and having a city that I can explore. You know, there's a lot of really beautiful nature in this area. That tends to be about it. And I want to keep researching and writing, you know, for literature as well. That's so important to me. You know, if anything, I definitely have a clearer idea right now of what I want to do and who I want to be, and that's really nice. I guess here's to the vague future, which hopefully will have more writing communities and more art and beauty and life. Because I certainly need more life. Before this video goes nowhere fast, that is my very unorganized discussion on writing for today. And I will see you, Adria, next week. And I will see you, Callie, the following week. Bye. P.S. I made vanilla lavender Earl Grey chocolate pudding with sea salt. And it's from this really cool book called The Kinfolk Table. It's an amazing cookbook. It wasn't cheap, but it's awesome and I love it. And it's this idea of like cooking with like small gatherings and making meals for small gatherings, Kinfolk Table idea, which is really cool. And I talked like with Em about it once, and should I ever finally make it back to Washington, I'm bringing this cookbook with me and we are gonna make things because it's lovely.